WEFUNK. We funk.
And Riddick Bowe, who, like I mentioned, really is just one of the great, crazy, nutty personalities in the sport. Amazingly enough, however, not done seeing some action on Big LW's KOcast Top 5 WTF Moments list here. Because Riddick Bowe as well involved in the number 2 moment on the list when a parachute guy crashed into the ring. Wait, what? But yes, of course, the number 2 moment on Big LW's Top 5 WTF moments in the history of boxing list. But, of course, coming in at number 2, the fan idiot, or the paradouchist, which is another great name. However, this is a family show here on Big LW's KOcast, so we'll call him the fan idiot. However, I guess a couple of minutes ago I referred to the Bowe Holyfield trilogy. Right, well, I didn't mention the shenanigans and heroics therein, as entering the Thomas and Mack Center in November of 1992, the real deal Holyfield was, of course, an Olympic hero, as well as 28-0 and the unified heavyweight champion, with wins against Buster Douglas, as well as aging George Foreman and Larry Holmes is in his process. All right. Riddick Bowe, on the other hand, was a New York City contender who was a free member of society, which was more to be said for fellow Brooklyn contender Mike Tyson, who had recently been locked up, and Holyfield missed out on that great mega fight. For now, spoiler alert, but the early 90s pre-jail Tyson Holyfield mega fight never happened. And instead, Evander Holyfield would take on the number 1 contender, Brooklyn's own Big Daddy Riddick Bowe. All right. In what went on to be Ring Magazine's Fight of the Year in 1992, a 12-round classic that saw Riddick Bowe upset the undefeated champion and take his straps and legitimize himself as the real deal in the heavyweight division as well. All right. However, another mega fight that I had referred to earlier, but another mega fight could not be made with his mandatory defense of the number 1 contender for his WBC belt, Lennox Lewis. All right, who as well beat Riddick Bowe in the 1988 Olympics, mind you. All right. So instead, he could not come to contractual terms, as the holder of all 3 belts did not feel like he was getting the fair shake on the deal in a fight with the young rising English superstar Lennox Lewis. So instead, he throws the WBC belt in the garbage and instead decides to defend the IBF and WBA straps, ultimately leading up to a rematch with Evander Holyfield 1 year later in November of 93. All right, so we'll take you to Caesar's Palace in the outdoor arena, home, of course, to WrestleMania 10. All right, but Caesar's Palace arena set up in the outside Las Vegas desert air. What could possibly go wrong? And so I guess when you consider the general context, a pretty major rematch in the heavyweight division that wound up being a razor-thin split decision for Evander Holyfield, 115-113, 115-113, and 114-114. For Evander Holyfield. However, really burying the lead with the judges' scorecard when we get to the paraducist. Or the fan idiot, I guess I decided. But we'll take you halfway through the 7th round in a heavyweight mega fight. A skydiving parachutist attempting to land in the middle of the ring actually gets his parachute caught up on the lighting rigs, the huge lighting rigs surrounding the ring. Thankfully, put up sturdily enough by the Las Vegas rigging staff to not collapse, which would have been a real horrible tragedy of this whole thing. But instead, the lighting rig kind of supports the weight of the parachute. However, the parachute strings swing this idiot towards the ring itself, getting himself caught up in the top rope of the wrong corner, however, as he quite literally gets caught up in the top rope of the corner closest to Riddick Bowe. So what happens? Boys from Riddick Bowe's entourage, very potentially the same ones that would be involved in the riot a couple years later, but swarm this fandusiast, and by the time security arrive, he's already been knocked out, knocked unconscious by members of Riddick Bowe's entourage. All right. And if you rewatch the video, you can see one of the dudes, this hilarious dude in like an orange jacket, just instinctually, literally a guy falls out of the sky into the ring. All right. This dude hops up, direct beeline for like a knockout blow to a dude with a helmet, and just does not waste a minute before attacking a dude that just parachuted down from the sky for no reason. Like, immediately on the defensive were members of Riddick Bowe's entourage, who, like I mentioned, had the dude in vigilante justice style, had the dude knocked down by the time security could usher him away. His name is James Miller, and he, at this point, claimed to be doing it as a protest to the violence in boxing. Was, of course, totally full of shit, as he was just a, stuntman. I would call him low level, but this is pretty high level shit. As he was a stuntman who, in the next couple of months, would as well kind of repeat the scenario by, with incidents at the Los Angeles Coliseum at a Raiders-Broncos game, as well as halted play at a Wanderers Arsenal game in England, as this guy took his shenanigans across the pond to English Premier League football as well, however, as he landed his flying device on the top of Buckingham Palace, which got him deported from England and permanently banned from the country. All right. So I guess no real loss there, but I guess he will forever... as well, he forever earned the name as boxing's fan man, or as we call him on the number 2 moment of the top 5 WTF moments in the history of boxing here on Big LW's KO Cast. But the paraduciast, the fan idiot. I guess in terms of the Bowe Holyfield trilogy, it would be a couple of years later before Riddick Bowe would knock Evander Holyfield out in the rubber match.
WEFUNK. We funk.